Hey AfterBuzzers and Siren fans, we are here to talk about episode 4, Oil and Water. There was a lot of juicy things in this episode, and I think we could all learn a fun dance move or two from Levi. What's going on between Ryn, Ben, and Maddie? And we have an amazing, lovely guest in the studio, Hannah Levien. You won't want to miss it, so stick around.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, what's going on, guys? Happy Valentine's Day to everybody watching. I want to give you guys a quick heads up. Unfortunately, our live chat is not working right now, but please make sure to tweet us all. Hannah actually just tweeted, so you guys can check that out and make sure you tweet us all your questions that you have for her. We are so excited to get this episode going. And Hannah, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me again.
We're so happy to have you here again.
And on Valentine's Day.
I know.
It's like the ultimate Galentine's Day, I guess.
It is. Galentine's, talking about Siren. But yeah, you've got such a busy schedule, so we so appreciate you fitting time in to come hang out with us.
Thank you.
And talk
And on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, and on Valentine's Day. But before we get into it, Karla, how's it going? How's your Valentine's Day going?
It's going awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah. I have
Wearing red.
my dog is with me, and that's the Valentine that I need.
It's a very cute dog. He's a very cute dog.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Nasta here, and let's just talk about our overall thoughts on this episode. There was a lot that went into this. I feel like each character had so much that they threw at them that we need to like break it down person by person.
Well, I think this is the first episode where we actually got to see everybody at once, because in the other episodes we've only kind of seen Ben and Maddie. Like, we always see the main characters, but it was nice to see the other people come around.
Definitely. We got a little bit more about Levi. I kind of want to start off about him because
Let's start.
It's very intriguing to me because obviously, you know, he killed Xander's dad. Kind of a big deal. You'd think so, right? But yet, Ben's kind of just easily forgiven him, even though Xander's dad was basically like a dad to him. So I was just kind of really struggling with how easy it seemed for Ben to forgive Levi, yet he's totally kind of shunning Xander and not forgiving. You know, it's like this weird triangle we have going.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. The scene between Xander and Ben on the boat when Ben said, you know, your dad was like a dad to me too. That really, that moment I found quite touching, and I agree. Like, you think, well, then how does Ben just sort of forgive Levi so easily? But you can't forget, Ben has the Siren song in his head. Like, his, you know, and his marine biologist background, like, he's so curious about the mermaids and so, you know, potentially addicted to them. We don't quite know what that song really is yet. So, yeah, I totally hear your thoughts, and yeah.
No, it makes so much sense though, because the fact that you're saying the word addicted, like he's so addicted to them and he can't let them go, and I think that makes it so much more understanding actually, because Xander really is like, I don't know what you're doing, dude, but when you have an addiction to something, you don't care what's going to get in your way.
To you, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you can't really hear the reason that yeah.
Well, and I actually think that the reason why he was so forgiving, even like after the fact that he said that it was also his dad, is the fact that he said that he's more of a soldier, and he did what he had to do because that's what he was told to do. So in a way, I think for Ben it was justified that he did it not because he willingly had to do it, but because he had to, because he was ordered to.
which is interesting because
which is different, because when you kill by choice and when you kill when you're told to, you know, I feel like it's
which I guess technically Xander kind of killed by choice. Not in a way though. He didn't mean to.
So, yeah, that is true.
I just feel like Xander is kind of getting so shunned, and it's really, every time I'm kind of angry with him because he has spiraled out completely this episode. Last time we talked about it, Karla was like, I really hope we can find some justification for Xander to really like ground his feet and find some solace in what's going on. But really, he just totally spiraled out this episode with capturing Katrina and everything. So it's just interesting how he's not getting any type of sympathy, and I think that lack of sympathy is what's driving him over the edge. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. And like we were talking about that last week, that we were hoping that his storyline develops and he kind of like overcomes this and we get to see another side of Xander. Because at this point, for the past 4 episodes, which has kind of been seeing him deal over and over and over again with the same problem. And now he like kidnaps Katrina and he's like, oh, you can't go in the water, so now you're stuck here with me and you're going to give me what I want.
Yeah, and it also seemed to me with Katrina that he was kind of trying to build up his own army a little bit, or his own power in a way, like get some allegiance, you know, win some favors, because he needs people on his side. Like we've seen Xander on his own quite a lot. And I even forget sometimes that him and Ben are such good friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, you know, they don't spend a lot of time together, and obviously they've become very divided about the mermaids at this stage. But Levi's journey, I agree, was so compelling and fun in this episode. And it was nice to watch all the mermaids, I think, becoming more human and learning what that is to be. And it's had this nice, it's like we're learning with them in a way, which is really beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and it was fun to see the kind of camaraderie that that formed between all of them, and kind of the learning stage and making it fun. Obviously, all the mermaids are so serious all the time, so sometimes it's hard to like take yourself out and just kind of like enjoy how funny their interactions are. But it was fun to kind of humanize Levi, because I think ever since he did kill Xander's dad, we have been in defense mode towards him. At least I have as an audience member. You're like, I don't want to like you. I don't like you because what you did. But I think, what you did was wrong. But I think, you know, peeling back the layers, and he was a soldier trying to figure out, he thought he was getting attacked. In his mind, he's feeling like he needs to defend himself. Not to justify what he did whatsoever, but it's just, it was fun to see the lighter side of him and peel back those layers and know that he's kind of getting humanized now.
Yeah, and my favorite part was like kind of the lines of dialogue that they were given for Ben and him.
Yes.
And like how he was kind of like, oh, you need to be your own person, and we have to listen to women, like different things. And I really, really loved when Levi kissed Ben, and he was like, oh no, like it's not wrong, but you can't kiss without the other person wanting you to kiss. So that whole part of them being in the car was a big development for his character, and I really, really appreciated that.
And I felt we got immediate payoff in the episode a bit for Levi, because yes, there was the moment with Ben in the car where he's learning these things, then we see him apply them with the girl in the bar and the dance floor, and then beer pong, and it's like watching a kid go to college or school for the first time, doing all these things that we have, you know, as humans have done for years and years, and then watching him discover it all for the first time. It had a real sweetness to it as well. And when he asked the girl on the dance floor, "You want to kiss?"
Yeah, that was the best part.
So cute. And he was like, "It's so perfect. It's Valentine's Day. They're all kissing." Yeah.
It's so true. And I think going back to what you were saying about the whole conversation that they had, Karla, I did find the power in what Ben was saying so meaningful, because of what we were talking about last episode, that the show is, I think, trying to break down those barriers of things that we're afraid to talk about. And I think the mermaids kind of being neutral and not knowing what's going on, they're kind of representing that. And I think that was really special. But yeah, it is just so fun. It was fun to watch him kind of come into his own. But
I think that after this episode, everybody's kind of Team Levi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always liked Levi. I mean, but I haven't been involved in those moments of the story, and so I forget that he's kind of bad, and then I see him on set, and I'm like, "Yo, Sadell, what's up?" Like, you know. And I think the mermaids are just doing such a great job. They're watching the performances, like it's really cool television. It's interesting to watch. You don't see that in every show. You know, people being other creatures, really.
I agree 100%, because actually I think it was, I don't remember what episode, when they're just like kind of figuring out who they are. I think it might have been episode 2. They're all in the forest. They're kind of just grunting and making these noises, and I was just thinking about the character development for that and what they probably had to think about logically of how they wanted to create these characters, because each of them kind of has their own. But this is a new type of mermaid that we haven't seen on television before.
No, absolutely. And I think today especially, because so many of these sort of imaginary characters that we now see on television and movies, there's so much of them is CG and prosthetics and all sorts of pieces. And obviously when the mermaids change, it's, you know, those elements come into play. But when we see them being human, they are, it's all in their performance. And I actually watched, they had some cool behind the scenes stuff, which some of the Siren behind the scenes stuff has been really cool this season. And they had some footage of Ryn and Katrina's fight, which they filmed in the tank. The underwater fight. No, the fight that happened when they both fell in the water last episode.
I saw that. Yeah.
And it was really cool. And Eileen, who plays Ryn, was saying that they basically acted as though they were two eels, like wrestling in the water, and that was kind of their inspiration for that performance. And I just like, it's so awesome, and it's great to be able to have that creativity as an actor as well.
Definitely. And it kind of, I feel like, would get you more into the role too.
Absolutely, yeah. And they're doing such awesome work, and I think it's a great opportunity for them, and it's really cool to see on TV as well.
So fun.
Well, their performance is definitely outstanding. I've been even from the first time that we saw Ryn, it was kind of one of those where like, wow, this girl is so good at what she does, because it was our first time kind of seeing a character come to life like that.
Totally.
And then now that they're applying more of them and kind of seeing them all come together has been, I'm literally, it's kind of like breathtaking to just kind of see them just become these characters where you don't really know how they're acting, but you know that they're acting.
Right. Definitely. It's so seamless. One last thing about Xander before we get into Ben's whole situation. I know he's spiraling, and I know what Hannah, you were saying earlier makes sense about him trying to find solace and not trying to find, camaraderie with somebody. He doesn't have anybody right now, so he needs to build his own type of army in a sense. But something that was kind of frustrating me was like, why are you capturing Katrina when you had a conversation with Ben just a couple seconds ago about knowing that you have the mermaids? Because he talked to Ben, they were on the boat, and Ben came up to him and he's like, oh, so I heard you had a party at your house, you have them, don't you? Like, he was mentioning that he knew Ben was with the mermaids. So it's just really interesting to me that he would go out of the route of taking Katrina rather than just kind of like breaking Ben down a little harder and like trying to fight him. But I guess he just kind of saw that as like a door closed. Did you guys pick up on that, or is it just me?
No, because when I think about Xander taking Katrina, I think it's more like him going to get revenge and what he wants, because he's offering something that he can't actually deliver. He's saying like, oh, this is your problem, so I'll get rid of your problem if you help me get rid of mine. So I think that Xander wants to take Katrina because he knows that Katrina doesn't want to be there. Katrina has always been the one that's been rebelling against her own. So I think that by him telling her, like, hey, you know what, like, I can take you back to the water if you bring me him. So that's why we see in the previews where he's like, she goes back and she's like, oh, no more humans, just the water. And she tries and gathers everybody to go, because she's going to take Levi to him, because she's going to be willing to sacrifice him in order for her to get back into the water.
Well, I guess I was confused because he literally was like, where is he? I need to find him. Like, it's like he was using Katrina as bait. And so that's why I was just finding it interesting that he would go to all these lengths to go in the middle of the ocean, where he could have been like, Ben, I got your girl in a tank on my boat. I've got one of your mermaids. Why don't you come get her and give me Levi as a trade-off? Like, I found like he was going the harder route rather than like the confrontation route that he usually does. But I mean, I guess he's got other...
Yeah, I mean, maybe he just like... we should ask Ian. Call him.
I know.
Yo,
what's going on?
Maybe he just wanted to. Maybe he needed to blow off some steam. Maybe he wanted to do something more active and a little bit more diabolical in a way. Like,
that makes sense. He's
frustrated with Ben and wanting to just get his own or something.
That's so true. It's like he's powerless right now, and so he wants to take back the power. And I feel like he also feels that way with his friendship kind of disintegrating with Ben. He wants to pull that power together, and he doesn't feel like he can go to him. So I guess I answered my own question.
And then we're
I'm sorry, guys. I took you through a loop. I was just like so curious about that.
And then Xander has obviously got this relationship developing with Nicole, but we don't know how that's quite going to go down. Yeah.
Yeah, she's definitely using him, and I don't think that is going to end very well.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Right, yeah. So I think that adds to our, we know that's going on for Xander too.
Right.
So we're seeing his life just progressively look a little more and more out of control.
Exactly. But hopefully that means that he'll fix his life soon.
He's got a ways to rise back up. Yeah.
I hope so. We've mentioned many times our prediction is that him and Maddie are going to somehow end up back together. So that's kind of a hope.
I feel like my prediction has changed.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
I'm so excited to get into it.
Yeah,
after the end of today's episode, who knows what can happen for everybody.
I know what an ending.
What?
I know. That was a crazy ending.
It was so crazy. So let's get back into the whole Ben and Ryn situation. So we start this episode showing that he listened to the tapes, but really it turns out to be Ryn's dream, which I found to be so interesting because now she's dreaming about him. And before we kind of got some context as to why she may be dreaming about him, I thought that the song really connected them together, and it's not just about who hears it, it's about who sings it too. Like, I thought that was just kind of a connection that they had.
Well, you know how Levi kind of says how they made each other, and how it's the woman who chooses, and how she's the one that that kind of makes the bite, and so I think that I don't know if on land that's kind of how she took her bite, but that's kind of what I've been picking up. I have a feeling that that's kind of how she was able to
feel so quickly.
Yeah, towards him.
Hey, I don't quite understand that. Can you say?
So, okay, so you know how Levi was explaining to Ben that in the water, it's the female who chooses their mate. Yeah. And the way that after she chooses him, she bites him. Right. In the neck. Right. So obviously she's not going to do
that as a human.
So
maybe she's using her song.
But I think
instead.
that she's using her song because we still don't know what's the meaning behind the song. Yeah. But I have a feeling that could be something.
Then do you think she's doing that with the intention of the same intention that a bite would have? Like to draw that partner in? Because I think we see in Ryn a lot of uncertainty about whether she should do that to Ben or not. Like whether she should be with him or want to be with him. Would you say?
I've seen where that's coming from, and there is some uncertainty, but I really feel like the only reason she has that kind of question mark is because of Maddie. Right. I feel like if Maddie wasn't in the picture, I feel like, I think for both of them, it would just be a no-brainer. Yeah. But I think that's kind of where she's questioning, and that's why she kind of is like, I don't want to leave you out of this because I know you feel this way, but I want him. And I think the song just has more, I'm excited to find out what that actually means. Yeah, totally. Because I think there's got to be something behind them having a connection together, because Maddie just doesn't seem to be on the same level, but I feel like she's feeding into what they have because she doesn't want to lose Ben. Out? Yeah. I think she doesn't want to lose Ben so bad that she's just I'm gonna dive into that. I don't know.
Even after the ending of this episode, you'd think that she doesn't feel the same way.
I think she's just vulnerable and she's just going through a lot, and I don't think she wants to lose him. And she just Ryn kind of felt. I don't know. I still have so many questions about the ending.
We've definitely seen a more powerful connection in a sense between Ben and Ryn because of the song. Whereas we haven't quite seen that between Maddie and Ryn at this stage. Right. And so it is a little unequal, but we know that, I think Maddie and Ryn definitely have a connection, even if it's not as strong, even if it's not with all the song and everything else going on. So I do still see it as a triangle.
Okay. That's fair.
But I totally know what you're saying.
I think in this episode it ended as a triangle. I was like, where is this going?
Well, that's what totally. Well, it's so funny too, because I think this kind of had obviously season 1 foreshadowed a little bit about what we were gonna see, and so I remember them all laying in bed together, and we're kind of like, where does this go from here? And they kind of let go of that idea, and then they kind of brought it back in little doses throughout season 1. But then this is the first time they're all officially really going at it.
Yeah. No, totally,
But I still, I think I'm still just trying to figure out in my brain how I compartmentalize the song from like the actual genuine feelings of how these three people feel about each other. So I don't know. It's just really gonna be really, really interesting.
I think once they tell us like what the song really entails, I'm gonna be like, okay, well, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting one, and that. Can't say too much, but yeah. I was we were doing the live tweet earlier for the East Coast screening at 5, the cast and myself, with lots of the fans of the show, and people commented on the moment at the end with the makeout, the three, who knows what happened after that, but I called it my Valentine's Day kiss, that moment. I was like, yes, yay. But people were commenting and saying they really loved that moment that we've all been waiting for when they would all kiss came out of Maddie being really upset. Oh, no, in this episode. Oh, sorry, this moment that I feel like we've been wanting it to happen again. But that it happened from a place of Maddie being distressed and upset from seeing her mom, and it was like compassion and support from Ben and then Ryn as well, and that was a really lovely outcome of that moment. Yeah. Not something that was just lust entirely, or you know what I mean? Yeah. So I thought it was nice the fans felt that way too.
Definitely, and I think that is a great point. I'm so glad you brought it up, because now kind of tying it back to some of the things that happened this episode, it's like Maddie and Ryn had their moment. You know, Ben was trying to figure out a little bit more about Ryn's past and how it kind of works by bonding with Levi. And then when they're all at dinner, you know, Maddie's like, Ryn kind of picks up like, oh, are you not hungry? Or like, can I have your food? Like, I just feel like that kind of all tied together in like their comfort with each other. And then I think you're right, what the fans are saying about how them all coming together for that kiss. It really did show that they do all care for each other. Totally. Doesn't matter on what level, but I mean, I guess you guys are right, too. I mean, they're definitely, they could all three be in love. This could be a relationship and something that...
Well, they've said it a couple of times that they're saying that this is going to be the...
Right.
The one word that I can't ever say, the
polyamorous
relationship.
Pushing all the boundaries, freeform.
Yes. We love it. Yeah, I think that is also what... I feel like this episode really, they touched on so many different topics of just like men and women and how you don't have to just kiss a man, or like they brought up little hints that I think that's kind of what it's gearing towards, and they're just kind of exploring a different realm in which no one has before.
I think I agree, and I think on top of that, we've also got some really interesting comments on environment and things that are going on with conservation and the oil, the oil rig drilling and all this stuff. And I think that plus not that they're touching on issues necessarily, because I think the writers are doing a really lovely job of showing us characters that are very open-minded and are not prejudiced, or I just think it's actually really lovely to see that on television. And then we also have the environmental storyline. So I think as a show, it's really awesome that it's opening up a lot of issues, but not becoming issue-based.
Definitely. You're right, completely. Because even about, like, accepting mermaids, and they're different, and you've got this group of people that's really trying to figure out how they can help them. It's going to be 9 months that they've got to figure out how they can make a home for them. So, yeah, it's just so great. But speaking of going back to Maddie and kind of her vulnerabilities and everything she's gone through, there's been a lot that has happened to her in the past couple weeks with her mom coming back.
Totally. It's been rough.
Right. It's been so rough for her. She kind of is, I think she's been even teetering back and forth with, like, she doesn't want to let Ben go, but she kind of knows there's this thing, but she's trying to figure out how she works into that situation. But I find her mom so intriguing. There is so much depth into what we don't know, and it all kind of started from the stem of that phone call she had with Glenn, and then he shows up, and then she's high afterwards. Do you think there was more than the mom just getting high that has to do with that relationship, or do you think really they just kind of, it's a bad relationship that she just didn't know how to say no to?
Well, I think it's a bad relationship that she didn't know how to say no to because of her vulnerability of being able to, like, relapse again. And I think that when you're addicted to something and there's somebody who can like offer it to you, because I feel like addiction is something that is brought up a lot in the show, because we have Ben having the addiction with Ryn, and then now we're having like the mother having an addiction with that. So we're able to see like these different relationships that like you can be addicted to, and I think this was just a different way of them showing us how you could be addicted to a relationship that's like harmful for you, and like both, you know, because it could also be harmful for Ben, since we find out that Decker was kind of committed suicide after what happened to him. So I think that I didn't really think about the death of the mother as much, because I feel like in my mind I'm still thinking like, oh, her mom's a mermaid and her mom's a mermaid, but I think that her story is going to be actually different than what we've been predicting. I don't know that she's going to be a mermaid, but
Maddie's mom.
Yeah,
that was our huge prediction last season. Is we're like she disappeared strangely, and then they talked a lot about the dad's native background,
going
and
and mourning in the woods.
shapeshifters.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I think it is gearing more towards it's just a different scenario that they're trying to bring into the storyline, but. I don't know. I felt like the necklace was kind of a symbolic thing, because she said, I want you to keep it close to your heart. It's obviously Maddie's necklace, but I'm wondering if it's something that she gave to her.
Was it a seashell? Or was I just imagining things?
It wasn't a seashell, but it had some sort of designs on it.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking that necklace symbolizes something more than just, you know, her wanting to engrave it saying love mom.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt like they made it such a large moment. I mean, they went to breakfast or lunch in order to share this moment. So I feel like that necklace has got to have some sort of
And
play.
apparently the brunch was something special for the mom because of kind of the remembrance she had of when they used to go there.
Right.
Do you think that this was the last episode that we saw her mom, like this was kind of her saying goodbye?
I don't think so.
No, yeah, I would say, I mean, to me, not knowing what happens, it said there was going to be repercussions.
Right.
I mean, because what's Maddie's going to tell her dad, and what's her dad going to say? And I mean, who knows what happens after that? But I'm hoping there's going to be some kind of showdown or something, you know? But it definitely felt for Maddie at that moment. Like, you know, we've seen her and her mom come back together, and then she actually came home with a sense of hope, and then...
Yeah, and she went to go take her a snack, and it was like,
It's just,
it could be hard.
I feel as if it's also going to be really hard for the dad to come home, know that Maddie's moved out, the mom's relapsed,
and then...
And he was so rooting for her.
I know.
Gil,
He
Maddie's dad, is so great, the actor, and such a lovely man, and he, like... I don't know. I really love the relationship Maddie and her dad have, and it would have been really nice for them all to kind of get back on together, because those early scenes this season with the mom, with Maddie's mom coming back were awkward, right?
Yeah.
Maddie's is like really cold to her mom, and like understandably, but it was nice to think that might change, but I guess now.
We'll see what happens. It's going to be so interesting. Other things that are super interesting is Helen bonding with her long-lost family member. And we saw a lot about them kind of figuring out that they both had the same skin disease that's very rare. And he really didn't understand what she meant until it fixed him.
I had a question.
Yes.
So it's a family member, but we don't know what family member it is,
I think it's like
right?
her second cousin or something.
Okay, because for some odd reason I was like, oh, maybe it's her brother, but then I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
I think I immediately thought brother too, but I think in the lineage it was like cousin.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah. It was a bit more removed than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like second cousin or something. So
Okay.
it's like she knew that because they've got the same blood, then there's got to be some sort of connection there. But it was really interesting because they were talking about hybrids and how it was just something that, like, obviously she's done a lot of research on because she knew she wasn't normal, but she has a little bit more information. But I feel like this hybrids thing, what does that mean exactly? And are we going to get it brought up more into the season and how it's going to incorporate with the mermaids now living on land?
And are we going to get more hybrids that are going to come out?
Right.
I think that's what I'm mostly interested in, is seeing if like there's going to be more hybrids that are going to come out into the open. And that way we learn that like these relationships could develop a little bit further then, because like at this point I feel like I'm kind of fantasizing about Ben and Ryn being like endgame.
Yeah.
Because I mean in reality I don't know that they can be endgame, and I feel like if they talk a little bit more about the hybrids, I'll have a little bit more of a hope that they'll actually be endgame at the end.
Which would be super fun. But also, I mean, hey, you gotta throw Maddie in there. But I do also think that Maddie's gonna get with Xander one way or another.
Yeah,
I think they'll both
probably.
bond over like Ben messing up about something, and it'll be like a one night thing, and then they'll both be like, "Ooh, that was a mistake" or something. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But last but not least, the one successful relationship, I guess you could say, is Calvin and Janine.
Oh my god! I mean, for real.
You guys
I was like, is there a wedding happening down the line or something?
Like, we need a date for you guys. Like, can we get the writers to put you guys out on a date? And like, you guys are so cute last episode when he carries you in the mermaid.
Oh my god! The funny thing
know.
about that, like, that was actually pretty rough on poor Curtis, who plays Calvin. Like, he had to carry me take after take after take, and I mean, that costume's not the lightest. Like that shell bikini top I wear is like kind of like heavy and prickly, and yeah. So kudos to him. He did super well. But it's a lot of fun. It's been a really funny, sweet journey with he and I, and it definitely progresses through the season. But I totally agree. I've thought about that every now and then. I'm like, we've seen these, this relationship, potential threesome. Xander's got a girl, but we don't really trust her. Meanwhile, Janine and Calvin,
You guys are just going for it.
Yeah. But it's been really fun, and it's a fun dynamic, and it's always fun to see what the writers come up with. And the writers also say that they love writing our storyline because it's a nice way to add a bit of lightness, and you have those other storylines that kind of come in and break up the tension, and it's just a funny mix, the two of them together.
They are.
You
You
know?
guys are such a fun relationship. I think that's like the best part, because whenever you guys are together, there's always like you guys either always like make us laugh, or you're like, oh, okay, like relationship goals type of deal.
So, but tell us a little bit about the mermaid costume that you had to wear. How long did that take you to get ready?
Well, I mean, we did I had a costume fitting kind of early at the very beginning of the season. I went in for a fitting kind of to Janine's wardrobe for the season, and there was this mermaid dress hanging in the corner of the room, and I saw it and was like, oh my god, that's so gorgeous. And I just immediately thought it was for Ryn or for someone else, like a mermaid, but I was like, why would I just totally did not think it was my costume. And the costume designer came in. She's amazing. She was just like, oh, yeah, we've got all this stuff. And did you see this in the corner? I was like, what? That's for me? And she was like, yeah, oh, my God, we've had a design for you, blah, blah, blah. And, yeah, so I was fully stoked. I, took a photo of it. I was, totally geeking out. And we, then we tried it on. I came back for another fitting. And then we had a full makeup test day where they did all the scales down my arms and on my face. Because there's so many huge mermaid enthusiasts out there now.
Yeah.
And Freeform does a Mermaid Monday thing every Monday where they promote all these amazing artists that do this great work and love mermaids and
stuff.
So it's kind of like a homage to them that Janine's super into it, and I just think it's funny because Janine, she definitely, her dress sense, and she's kind of got some, I feel like she kind of stands out a bit in the town in a way.
Yeah.
So I thought it was actually pretty fun for her that she would go to town that much on a costume party,
Did you at any moment when you saw that and they said it was for Janine, think that maybe Janine has a mermaid past?
No, I mean, people did mention it too, and they mentioned would Janine be Siren at one point or this or that, but the costume designer said, oh yeah, there's a beauty pageant. Costume people will always spill the beans. If Siren fans, if you guys want to know what's going on, hunt down the costume designers. Though they're getting better at it now. They'll go to say something now, and then they'll be like, oh, I mean,
actually,
nothing. We're moving now. And we're just waiting for the crumbs.
Well, there's actually a question on Twitter that somebody said, Laura Lee Stevens wants to know, what is one thing Janine would do if she ran into the mermaids as opposed to dressing up like one?
Oh.
Well, if I didn't know what they were, I think Janine would probably just think they were a little bit odd, a little bit strange. But I think if I knew there were mermaids out there, I would be super fascinated. We've already seen Janine's obsessed with mermaids, went to all that effort to dress up like one. I think I'd be super into it, and I'd probably want to do the best for them. If it put Calvin in danger or something, if Levi, but then Janine also knows Calvin could be a total pain in the butt. She's pretty honest about that throughout the show, so Yeah, I think Janine would be loyal to the mermaids if she found out they existed, because I think she's like kind of tough and she likes things to be fair and fair play, and yeah. But it's something I have thought about.
I have a
No, you
can
go. You had.
Oh, okay. Okay, I have a question, because during the episode I realized that Calvin said to Janine, they're here. Does that mean that Calvin has told Janine the storyline of...
I mean, I can't give too much away, but I think, like, Calvin is cautious to an extent, but he definitely has the potential to say too much, as we've seen with the reporter, to speak out of line or out of turn. But so far, Janine, yeah, she's definitely... Janine's kind of wrapped up in her own, world with her relationship, the bar. She owns the bar of the town. I feel like it's like a inherited thing or something like that. She came into money and, like,
somehow it's ours.
Owns this bar. And so, yeah, I think her life is, this town's her world, and that's kind of a thing. And the mermaid stuff is just, like, so distant for her right now. But there's definitely potential for, I guess, Janine to find out more, because Calvin just speaks out of turn.
Right.
One time too many.
And do you think, kind of bouncing back to Janine maybe being a supporter of mermaids and knowing that Calvin's kind of on Xander's side with things, do you think that could potentially, without spilling anything, potentially cause a little tiff between the two?
I think something like that could. I think Janine, I think her feelings for Calvin are definitely growing, and she's becoming more and more serious about him. But I think if she felt Calvin was really in the wrong about something, if it was unfair to people or creatures or cruel, I don't think she'd be on board with that.
Oh, good. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah, Janine's like, I don't know, she's like loyal, and,
She's friendly to the environment.
Yes, yeah. I just think she's got good morals at the end of the day.
Which is crazy, because you're right. Like, at the beginning of season 1, Xander was like, hey, better watch out for her.
Yeah.
And it turns out maybe Calvin's the one to be looking out for.
Yeah. Well, Calvin kind of oscillates between his heart being in the right place and then just being like, when he's up in Ben's face this episode, it's like, Calvin, stop it, man. Like,
Well, and didn't he say, like, who's that girl? Was that like a flirt when he said, who's that? Or was that more like he's suspicious that she's a mermaid?
About
Donna's daughter.
Oh.
Because he pointed over and he said, who's that? I couldn't tell if that was a flirt or if that's like I noticed they're mermaids.
No, I think he might have
suspicious,
noticed the resemblance to Donna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right, because she's like standing right next to Duh, Allie. Oh, that's why I love
My
these
boyfriend
shows.
was flirting with someone else?
Yeah.
What? Excuse me.
I'm like, I would hope not. And right in front of you, so.
Yeah, seriously. So much fun. One last question before we get into some predictions. Obviously, you've been a part of it for season 1 and now season 2. How has your experiences been compared to each other?
Well, we've had 2 different producing directors, the different seasons. So it's definitely has had a different energy around it, and also the fact that this season we knew we were going into a product that was tried and tested. Season 1 was, no one knew what was going to happen. Would we get another season? Would people like it? How would the ratings do? Like, that puts a lot of pressure on a first season of a show. And I did a couple of episodes of first season of Magicians, and it was the same thing, like a different show, obviously, a different group of people, but it is a lot of pressure in a first season. And then the next time around, that people could take way more risks in every department, I think. And right now we have Joe Menendez as our executive producing director. My God, producing director. And Joe is very warm. We know we've got 16 episodes, a lot to flesh out. And I think there's just, it's a little bit more relaxed this season. And I think just trusting the process more and really, like, with Eileen at the helm playing Ryn, she's been a wonderful leader to the show as well. And I think her instincts are so right for the show that I feel like a lot of that is we're following her as well, which is, I mean, she's amazing. So
She is.
Yeah. And this specific episode tonight, actually, funnily enough, with the dance scene and everything, it was John, the director, also directed Saturday Night Fever.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
no way!
So it was, the whole dance scene with Levi and everything, like it was really special to watch because, you know, we're all watching him directing the scene, just being like, man, this guy is like, he's done so many of these shows. And it's so fascinating. I'm kind of a geek about film in a way, and just watching him behind the monitor when the scenes were going on, he does kind of orchestrate the scenes with his hands, with his voice, like, you know, yelling out, kind of making musical interludes. Like, it's really fascinating. And that's certainly been cool, bringing in with more episodes this season. We've been able to work with new directors that we didn't have on season 1, and that's been really cool as well.
That's so awesome.
So great. Actually, I lied. One quick thing before we get into what you're up to now. I just wanted to ask, or just kind of let the fans know too, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. You guys find out kind of as it comes, correct?
Totally, yeah. Okay. And I think that's the case with a lot of shows. Pretty much most shows, the writers are in the writer's room, coming up with things, and you know, we as a cast rarely receive an episode further than one ahead of where we're at. So right now we still have a couple more to film, and then the writers have just finished up for the year, but we still have a few more to shoot, and so we're yet to find out
like where it goes,
what's happening to the end of the show, and so it's exciting.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's fun to see like how fans are interacting with it, and you're like, man, like their theories and everything is kind of helping you figure out maybe where your character will go.
Totally. Yeah.
Seriously,
awesome.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for joining us. You have been
pleasure.
amazing. We love having you on, but where can the fans check you out? What's going on with you outside of Siren?
Well, right now I'm finishing up a short film I made. So I obviously, like, I work as an actor, and that's amazing and what I love to do. But I also wrote a short film that I made with some other filmmakers that I met on The Magicians, actually. And we made that the year before last, but we've just spent the past year doing the film festival circuit on that, which has been awesome. And right now we're sort of finishing that up and then deciding what we want to do with it next. And it's been really cool. It's sort of a sci-fi. We won a couple of awards for it.
What's the title of the short film?
It's called Hunting Season. And so you can find out a bit about, if you look me up online, there's sort of bits and pieces about it, and that's been a really cool experience and great to check out the independent film scene, which I did a lot of early in Australia, but when I was starting out as an actor. But the last couple of years I've been mainly doing television, so it's been really cool to get back out there and in a more you know, a different type of creative role. Even I do act in the film, but it's definitely been something I've been more focusing on as a writer and filmmaker. So that's been really cool. And then now I guess we're just sort of hoping to develop that and maybe start working on some new things. So that's been a really cool experience.
Amazing.
That's so exciting.
Thank you so much. Again,
My
you are
pleasure.
awesome. And especially coming and joining us on Valentine's Day. Couldn't be more special.
Well, thanks.
But in the meantime, where can fans find you on social media to keep up?
So I'm on Twitter at Hannah Levien. That's my name, HANNAHLEVIEN, and on Instagram at Hannah Levien Official.
And
that's me.
And that's Hannah. And Karla, where can they find you on social media?
You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Karla Beltran. You can follow me on Instagram at I am Karla Beltran, or on Twitter at Karla Beltran with an R at the end.
And hey guys, sorry that we ran out of time for predictions, but please comment below. We will comment back and we can go over some predictions next week. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Nasta here. Find me on Instagram at AllieGirl. And of course, follow AfterBuzz TV on all social media platforms. And again, thank you so much, Hannah. We love you.
Thank you.
We will see you guys next week.
Ciao.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.